Nutrition needs change with aging. Let's dive into 10 essential nutrition tips for healthy aging. Welcome to the Geriatric Dietitian, your go to resource for nutrition that supports health, independence, and confidence in aging. I'm your host, Katie Dodd, registered dietitian and geriatric nutrition expert. Let's dive in. Eating well is one of the most powerful ways to stay strong, independent, and healthy as you age. Whether you're 65 or 105, I'm going to be sharing 10 simple tips to help you fuel your body, protect your health, and enjoy food in the years to come. Now, I always want to provide a disclaimer. The tips I'm providing are not a substitute for individualized nutrition advice. So, as always, defer to your healthcare team, work with a registered dietitian. But let's dive in. Actually, before we do that, I want to let you guys know if you want to get a PDF version of this essentially handout that I'm sharing with you guys. I'm talking to you guys about a resource that I've made. It's completely free. It's available on my website, thegeriatricdietitian.com, but I have put the link below. The beauty of this handout is that it actually has hyperlinks and all of the images that bring you to even more content found on the Geriatric Dietitian. If you haven't been to the website, it is full of information, tips, education to help you as you age to get the best nutrition possible. So let's dive into our 10 essential nutrition tips, starting with number 1, which is stay hydrated. Most people don't drink enough water, young and old. But hydration is so important for every single cell in our body. And as we age, intake of fluid often declines. Now, there's lots of different reasons. There's not just one sole reason that older adults tend to be drinking less water. It could be you're on lots of medications that make you have to pee, and gosh darn it, it's annoying to have to go to the bathroom all the time, so you intentionally reduce that intake. It could also just be like you don't feel thirsty, and so you just don't even think about it. But nutrition and hydration go hand in hand. We have to make sure that we are hydrating our bodies, drinking plenty of water. So be mindful throughout the day to drink plenty of fluids. Now, me, I always have a glass of water with me. You could either have a glass of water, maybe your favorite bottle of water, but keep a bottle or a glass near you. There's lots of different tips. Some people like to, have a glass every time like they have your medications, like drink a full glass of water because, well, gosh, at least 1, 2, maybe 3 times a day, you might be taking medication. So that's a good reminder to drink water. Since you're drinking anyways, just drink a full glass. Also having fluids with meals, having a cup with you all the time to sip on it in between meals, and even making sure you're having more foods that have fluid in them. Think of soups, smoothies, watermelon. There are plenty of foods that are high in fluids too. So that's tip number 1 is stay hydrated. And I'm going to drink a quick sip of water. I have to practice what I preach over here. Number 2, prioritize protein. You guys, this one is so important for aging adults. Protein builds and protects muscle. Muscle is vital for maintaining independence. I mean, think about it. You need muscle to do everything. When you wake up in the morning, you get out of bed, you go brush your teeth, you get dressed, you make a meal. Everything you do requires muscle. And if you don't have enough muscle, then you don't have the ability to stay independent. Sarcopenia is a natural decline in muscle mass that we see with aging. And because we don't have a lot of conversations about good protein, strength exercise, and muscle and aging, oftentimes as you age, you start losing muscle and you aren't doing anything protective to spare muscle loss. So this is why it's a really important thing for really anyone, but especially aging adults, is get enough protein to protect your muscles. Now, I always like to say that just eating protein isn't enough for muscle health. I mean, it is great, but we also want to make sure that we are pairing resistance exercise, so actually using those muscles to stay strong and healthy. Now, as always, be sure to talk to your healthcare team, your doctor, about the best exercises for you. So, tip number 3, protect your bones. Muscles are important, but so are bones. Bones can weaken as we age, increasing risk for fracture. And if you have less muscle mass, maybe you're, losing a little bit of that stability you have, you're just like, oh gosh, I'm really scared of falling. If your bones aren't strong and you fall, we know what's going to happen, fracture, right? Breaking a bone, something we don't want to see happen. So as we age, it's really important that we support bone health with calcium-rich foods, vitamin D, and also weight-bearing activity. So that's really just exercise that kind of puts a little bit of weight, a little bit of pressure on those bones and just make sure we keep everything strong. Strong bones means better health and fewer injuries. It keeps people out of the hospital, and that's what we all want. The next tip is to prevent unintended weight loss. Now, this actually goes hand in hand with what I was talking to you guys about with muscle. As we age, we have less muscle mass. You guys probably know this, right? I mean, when you were 18, you probably had a lot more muscle mass than what you do when you're 80. It's just, this happens unless you're very, very mindful to, get your strength exercise in. So, doesn't have to happen. But we know that older adults do have less muscle. We just know this through science. And so preventing unintended weight loss is really important because when someone loses weight, especially unintended, they are losing muscle. Now, we live in a society and culture that really glamorizes weight loss, right? What do people tell you if you start losing weight? Oh my gosh, congratulations, you look so good. What's your secret? Sometimes we could be like, oh, I've been trying to get off those extra 10 pounds. But if you're losing weight unintentionally, you're probably losing muscle. If you're not prioritizing protein, getting in your strength exercise, and that weight's happening without meaning to. So that's actually a really bad thing. As a geriatric dietitian, this is what gets me fired up the most, because while people are saying, congratulations, you've lost weight, over here as a geriatric dietitian, I'm like, oh no, your muscle, because I want you to be independent and strong in your home for as long as possible. Unintended weight loss leads to muscle loss, which is the fastest way to decline in health at all. You lose muscle mass, more likely to fall, go into the nursing home, go into the hospital. It just creates the cycle that we don't want to see. So weight loss in older adults, unintended, leads to loss of muscle, weakness, and reduced independence. So we want to make sure that we are focusing on nutrient-dense foods, nutrient-dense meals, snacks, and nutrient-dense, that just means like lots of good nutrition in the foods we're eating. And honestly, if you have low appetite, don't be scared of a little extra calories. A lot of people, again, because of our culture, are so scared of eating high-calorie foods. But if you're familiar at all with my brand, I actually promote high-calorie foods for people with low intake or are experiencing unintended weight loss because it's that big of a deal that we have to protect your muscles. So that's the next tip, is prevent unintended weight loss. So next, let's talk about our tip on filling up on fiber. Now, fiber is a very important nutrient. Fun fact, 95% of people, young and old, do not get enough fiber. So the reality is that our country just doesn't get enough fiber, but filling up on fiber is important. Fiber helps keep our bowels regular. Bowel movements are important. They're a part of life. They're a part of health. Fiber supports digestion. It supports heart health, blood sugar control. It does lots of good things. And also, foods that are high in fiber are generally healthy. We got fruits, we got vegetables, whole grains, nuts, beans. So one thing I always want to say, as you're increasing fiber, especially if you're like, oh, I don't really eat a lot of fiber, make sure you drink plenty of water. This pairs with our first tip, right? Lots of hydration. So we want to make sure we pair fiber with hydration because we want to make sure that it helps the bowels to work good and not get you backed up. So fill up on fiber. Our next tip is to color your plate. And what I mean by that is have a plate, a meal that's full of beautiful colors. And I'm not talking Skittles. I'm talking about different foods that are, they often say like eat the rainbow. So this means bright fruits, vegetables. There's things like called phytonutrients, there's antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, all kinds of good stuff and colorful foods that support brain health, eye health, immune health. So that's just a tip we often talk about is, eating a variety of foods, eating the rainbow with produce to maximize your nutrition and health. So get lots of fiber, that could look like fruits and veggies, and eat a whole variety of different colors. So, think maybe red tomatoes, orange carrots, yellow bell pepper, green spinach, purple cabbage, getting all that variety of colors. My next tip is to choose foods you enjoy. Now, I'm going to repeat this again. Our culture likes to fixate on weight loss. It likes to fixate on weight loss diets. And so oftentimes when it comes to, okay, now I'm at this phase of life that I really got to maximize my nutrition for health. It's not just a number on a scale. It is for health. we sometimes get caught up in what we call diet culture. And so sometimes we focus so much on restriction and I've got to eat everything healthy that we get caught up in the rules of food that we forget to enjoy food. Food is amazing. I love food. There's a reason I became a dietitian, but food should bring you joy and not stress. So rather than focusing on like restrictions and what I can't have, try to find ways to include your favorite foods, the foods that you like. Eating what you love helps you with your appetite. And remember, good appetite means you eat enough good foods, which means you don't lose weight unintentionally and you protect your muscles. It also leads to satisfaction and overall well-being. So this ties in with my next tip, which is make meal times social. So I keep coming back to this theme of, not having a good appetite, not eating enough food, and really emphasizing what are ways that we can maximize intake, because when we get the right amounts of food, we can get that good nutrition that our bodies need. So make mealtime social because eating together boosts mood. Like so much of our society is built around food, right? For holidays, we celebrate. For sports games, we celebrate with food. We like to come together. We like to eat food together. And when we eat together, we tend to eat more. We have a good time. It helps our mood. And honestly, it just brings meaning to meals. So make sure that you join family dinners, invite a friend to coffee, participate in community meals to reduce loneliness if that's you, and make foods more enjoyable. And I also want to give a shout out to, you might be in a situation where you're like, well, I always eat with other people. Think of your friends who might not have a lot of people in their life. Maybe they live alone. Maybe their family members have passed on. Invite them over for a meal. Eat with them together. Don't forget to think about others who might be struggling with less intake because they're not getting that social boost. So our next tip is to have small, frequent meals if needed. Now, this is really a specific tip for those who maybe have low appetite. Maybe you're the kind of person who you get full fast. You start eating a meal and you just can't finish it because you are just so full. So okay, I'm not getting all this good nutrition I need, but I'm just too full. So if this is you, if you struggle with poor appetite, you struggle with getting all of your nutrition in throughout the day, then try smaller meals. They often say like 6 small meals a day. So smaller meals or snacks throughout the day. Also having liquid in between meals like smoothies, soups, nutrition shakes. I've often found when someone's like, man, I can't eat another bite of food, they can still sip on a beverage like a smoothie, like a high calorie shake if they're struggling with weight loss. So we can utilize different drinks like smoothies and nutrition drinks to meet our nutrition needs. So our final tip is to seek personalized support. Now, I know most people have never met a registered dietitian before. I know a lot of you are like, what even is a dietitian? We hear the word diet and we think weight loss. A dietitian is the food and nutrition expert. Diet is simply a way of eating. It's just we tend to associate with weight loss. A diet is any type of meal plan or eating pattern that you follow. So dietitians are the ones, registered dietitians, can help figure out for you based on your own individual situation, your age, your health, your different medical conditions, your labs, your medications, and they can help you to figure out the best eating pattern for you. Now, here I'm sharing high-level tips, which are great, but all of you have individualized needs and even needs that might vary a little bit from what I'm talking about. Maybe you have kidney disease and maybe your doctor said, hey, eat less protein. Well, that's different than what I'm saying here about the get more protein because, again, I said this at the beginning, but this is meant to be like education for most people, right? But we're all individuals, right? So that's why I'm recommending to seek personalized support. Every person's nutrition needs are different. And if you're facing challenges with appetite, with unintended weight loss, managing health conditions, heart disease, kidney disease, hypertension, diabetes, a registered dietitian can help you to create a plan to work with your individualized goals. So, those are my 10 essential nutrition tips for healthy aging. I hope that you found this valuable. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You could turn on the alerts so that way you get a notification every time I put out a new video. And again, to get this handout, which is a PDF version of the tips I just told you with little clickable hyperlinks in those pictures to go to articles on my blog with even more information, you can go to the geriatricdietitian.com or you can just click below. I got a link down there with all my information and all the stuff. So thanks so much for watching and I hope to see you in the next video.